Hi, welcome
Hi.
back. we have a new what's it called? Series today. I found it first. I'm very excited. I loved it. I was like, let's do it.
You did find it first.
I did.
It's called Uncoupled. It's a new Netflix series.
And so we are gonna launch into talking about breakups. Here we go.
Maybe a password, who knows? Hey, I left 3 messages for you, never heard back. Did you check out the apartment?
We weren't robbed.
Oh, but Carmen said all that stuff went missing. Suzanne thinks that it might be an inside job.
Michael, we weren't robbed. I took my clothes and some things and I moved out.
Like TV to like ramp it up a million notches.
Oh my god.
So no part of my body and mind thought that that was a good idea. I remember back to Sex and the City when Carrie, I think they called him Burger Man, or I can't remember, but her date that she had for a while after Big, or in between Big, and he broke up with her on a Post-it, and she was like, a Post-it? Like, it was so the disrespect of having it be a Post-it. So this energy of disrespect is very present. There's not an honoring of the relationship. If it's been 17 years to just pull, it feels like pulling something. It feels like, the disrespect of not honoring the partner who you've said you've loved, even if that's no longer true. What's your take on the disrespect front, or anything else you want to get started with?
Yeah, it feels disrespectful. It feels like a dishonoring of the relationship. Exactly what you're saying. And it gives the partner being left no say. It's very feels very disempowering.
It's like he's been muted,
kind of
discounted.
Yeah, sort of really robbed of the opportunity to discuss what's actually happening in the relationship.
Dispute. There's lots of disses.
That's
just got dissed.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a reason why that became a thing, getting dissed.
Yeah. It's like we've been together for 17 years and I've unilaterally made this decision and I'm not willing to discuss it. It's not worth my time to discuss it. It's kind of how it feels in the moment. And I it's interesting that so there's another scene where is he called Douglas?
We've forgotten what he's called.
The one that isn't Neil Patrick Harris.
Love you, Neil Patrick Harris.
And he says to Neil Patrick Harris's character, like, you just make it about you. I had to do it this way, or
you would have talked me out of it.
You would have talked me out of it. So I had no choice but to sort of just exit the apartment, take all my stuff.
Thank you for saying that. Can I riff on that for a second? I had no choice but. So energetically, non-Neil Patrick Harris was himself in a place of being unempowered. And he then projected that. He's like, well, I have so little power. I have like this much power, so I have to take all of it. And there's no power left for you. He took away all of Neil Patrick Harris's power. And I've never really thought of projection that way, but it was like an energetic takeover because dude's capacity was so, we need to pause and like figure out his name, but anyway, because dude's power was so small. So here's I think one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this today is I don't think I've done this, but I've heard of a lot of people, you get in a loop. You break up, and then someone you get back together, and then you break up, and then someone does blah, 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 and you get back together. And there's this loop that happens, and you start to see, if it's happened a couple times, you start to see the loop, and you don't want that loop anymore when you've decided. You're like, I want to go. So what are the things you can do if you know that you are not good. I'm going to make it like a clear, not good at staying in your power and in your knowing when you are in the same space as the partner who you fear will talk you back into it. Okay, it feels a little bit long-winded. Can you show that up for me?
I get it. So it's like what I heard you say was, you're in a loop where you split up, get back together, split up, get back together. So it's like, this time I'm going to do something different. I'm going to break that loop. And in this situation, it looks like I'm just going to disappear in the middle of the day. So I'm not going to
give any room
for you to talk me out of it.
And to be fair, this show did not have them breaking up and getting back together, but I think that that fear is something that often manifests as that loop. So what are the choices? So what I like, my mission for this episode is, what are the ways you can be coming from a place of respect for what had happened in the relationship and for the other person, even as you have this fear of being disempowered in yourself. And we don't have an agenda for this, like we're gonna a little bit riff it right now, but I think that the first thing is making a list of if-then statements for yourself ahead of time. I have done this with difficult conversations or bumping into people, not romantic, but it's even like business things or difficult things that happen. I'm like, okay, if this happens, I have already decided that this next step is my step. And that decision making, that clarity can be, okay, if he says this, okay, if she does that, if she says this, if he does that, it can be so, oh, there it is. I've already decided what I'm going to do. So that's okay. I'm not going to be blindsided. So spending some time with yourself, making a list of if-then statements, I think can be a big relief for making those decisions ahead of time.
Yeah, I was thinking something similar. I think also in that flow chart of if-then is that all the if-thens lead to the same decision. So they lead to me leaving, talking about our relationship in this way.
Don't make it about us. Somebody in the past.
About him leaving. So all the if-thens still arrive at the same place, which is I am leaving this relationship. And so, and what's happened before, or what am I expecting my partner to say? What's he expecting his partner to say, just from knowing him, in this case, for 17 years? So he's going to say this. I know him well enough how he's going to respond. So just to feel it through, and even if one of the if-thens is, if he just keeps going and trying to convince me, I'm going to just walk. I'm just going to leave.
I wouldn't say I'm going to I'm letting you know if you keep talking, I'm going to leave. Like do let them track with you. I think that's important.
I would also consider telling a friend what I'm going to be doing as some kind of accountability. Say, look, I've thought about this. I really want to follow through on this. Maybe I've tried this before and I've gone back. You know how it's gone. I'm telling you this because I want you to be my accountability partner in me following through.
Also, you can book a call so that you can have someone to be like, oh my God, someone to both celebrate you and be with you as you move through all of the difficult feelings.
This has just come up as well. And this is specifically, we're talking about relationships where there's love and consideration for one another. We're aware where there are abusive relationships and physically threatening relationships, and there might be a circumstance where you do have to clear out during the day, or you do have to clear out at night, and where you shouldn't be leaving room for discussion. So I just wanted to flag that.
Yes, absolutely. And at the end of the day, you do what works for you. So yes, thank you for naming that this advice is for relationships that are not abusive. Absolutely. I had one more thing that I wanted to offer for the time alone, for ways to process what's going to be happening when you're on your own thinking about taking an action step like this. And I believe that all of the actions we take are because we have thoughts about what that will get us, and it's usually a sensation. It's usually like an emotional experience. So dude wanted to leave Neil Patrick Harris because he wanted, so as the episode went on, it seemed, what I interpreted was, he wanted more space for himself. He wanted someone who was more curious about his experience. He wanted to be more present. It felt like Neil Patrick Harris was taking up a lot of the emotional landscape of the relationship. So be clear as part of your processing of what it is that the breakup will give you, because here's actually a small caveat to all roads lead to the breakup of Rome, the Rome breakup. I want to make it, maybe that's a terrible analogy, misuse, metaphor. Anyway, is that if your desire is for more space, more listening, more of a different kind of relationship, there actually is a very real possibility that your partner didn't know that. That maybe you hadn't addressed creating more of what you desire within the relationship, and you've gone from 0 to 60. Either I have a relationship without this thing or no relationship with this thing. You actually might not have given your partner a chance to try new ways of being together. So my caveat to all roads lead to breakup could be, well, if I'm breaking up in order to have XYZ, if it turns out in the breakup process that like person was actually really open to XYZ and I didn't realize that, then that is actually a really good reason in my mind to not proceed to break up, and to do a little bit more exploration within the relations, to stay together, to see if you could find room, space, creation, expansion of the experiences you thought breaking up were going to get you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, it can become very polarized, like, oh, this isn't happening, and I expected it to be different, but I haven't kind of fully articulated to myself what that thing is. I haven't fully communicated to you what that thing is, and so it feels like the only way to get it is to leave this relationship because it's something wrong with the relationship or something that kind of you're not giving to me.
I believe, and I think you do too, tell me where I'm wrong, that one of the reasons why two people get together isn't just because we think the other one's hot. Like there are subconscious stuff in our baggage carriers that our brilliant subconscious, which processes millions of bits of data a second, versus our conscious mind, which processes like less than 40. Our subconscious knows that he's got juice for me. His subconscious knows I've got juice for him. And that juice is usually about healing some kind of trauma, history, patriarchy, hard stuff.
Deep in our past, before we met, before we knew each other, before you guys knew one another, like just like DNA level stuff.
DNA level, right? And so when the honeymoon period's over and like everything sort of settles down, you're having maybe a little bit less sex, you're like actually like doing domestic stuff together, you've like met parents for all that brings up, and so more, you know, more real life stuff is like coming into the bubble. Then that's when those, like the stuff that needs to get addressed comes up, and like a pimple, when it comes up, it's usually ugly and uncomfortable. So letting there be some spaciousness to unwind stuff that comes up. I think that's the biggest thing that we teach in when we support couples, is that it's not all, if it doesn't feel good, it's bad. But it's finding that balance of we feel good and there's this thing coming up, helps both individual work and in the relationship support what's coming up, as opposed to this thing is coming up, so the relationship is doomed. I'm terrible and I should leave at once. So breakups, yes, they happen. Yes, you want to do them with respect, and yes, get really clear on why you're breaking up, because there actually might be more room in your relationship for you to receive that than your current space of expansion even realizes. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
It does. Yeah. What I'm hearing you say is that sort of breaking up doesn't have to be the first step.
Yeah.
What could be the first step is,
what do I really want?
What do I really want? How would that feel? How can I bring that to my partner?
Thank you for saying that.
And then, like, the decision might still be to break up, but there's an opportunity. Oh, there's one more thing I've remembered too, is that when we make decisions unilaterally in a relationship, okay,
it just feels so icky.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Like somebody making a unilateral decision.
Yeah. I feel all my like fear of abandonment sensations come up. It's just like they've shut the door and there's nothing else I can do.
Yeah. Or when we like hold off on discussing a decision because we're trying to figure out when the right time is. We're not letting our partner have the growth opportunity that might be there for them as well. Like if I'm over here kind of walking on eggshells because I'm scared to talk about something or I'm about to make a decision that you're just going to have to live with, like I'm not kind of honoring your capacity for growth, your capacity to move through something, your capacity to come to terms with, or your capacity to express what's actually happening for you. There's some work just happened over there.
They're moving through some things. They're cutting through some layers. I love that. I love that. I wanted to give some warning signs.
Okay.
Here are some warning signs that you are making a unilateral decision and making them the bad guy and you the good guy. And it's usually not that simple. It might be, but it usually isn't. So if they are completely the bad guy, if you're all they're jerks and they did everything wrong and they should never and they should always, anything that has nevers and always and shoulds is a sign that you're trying to like pump yourself up to be better than them. And there is always space within that for you to look at, how am I creating this? How am I contributing to this? It takes two to tango. Part of you is part of that creation. Even if you end up leaving, you still get to learn about yourself. What part of me started creating this scenario with the two of us?
Yeah.
So that's the place where you get to look at yourself and come. If you are coming from a place of, this isn't working for me, I really don't feel comfortable or good with what's happening between us. Can you feel how sort of more like reflective and at peace with my decisions those words and that energy is, versus you should never and how could you always and what, like this finger pointing thing, even energetically, is a good indication that it's time to like take a little bit of time to reflect for yourself so that you can be more peaceful. And ironically, that peace also gives room for him or her to have their reactions and experiences to it. And then you get to take turns listening and moving through the discomfort together, as opposed to one person being the victim or the other person being a perpetrator. It creates a lot more space for grown-up conversation.
Yeah. I'll say another sign is that your partner's the last person to hear about your decision. So if you've talked to your friends and your parents and colleagues about this to kind of sort of bolster you in your decision making.
I'm right, aren't I? I mean, this is right. This is terrible that he did this.
And that, you know, the chances are they're going to collude with you and kind of say the things back that you want to hear. Like it comes from a good place, but it might not actually be serving you in your relationship journey. And it might be leading you to a place where you're not actually honoring your partner and honoring the time that you have spent together and honoring the potential of the relationship, which could still mean breaking up, but kind of sort of breaking up in a sort of a healthier, more, say, kind of more comprehensive way,
with awareness,
and with awareness and understanding of both partners of what's happened and why it's happening.
Amazing. That feels complete for
me
you too.
Okay.
Breakups. We're gonna put a synopsis in the show notes. Please like and subscribe. Tell us if this is if you're seeing any awarenesses for any of your breakups or any of the times that you've been broken up with, places where you could have had more presence and more kindness for yourself and your partner, even through a breakup. We'd love to hear about it. Okay, thanks for joining. Bye.